Today's verse of the day. Micah chapter 6, verse 8. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. There's more to being a good person than just walking in the life of Christ and trying to abide by the Bible and being a child of God. There's standards in life that you have to set and establish for yourself, not only for yourself, but the people around you, to show up and to give a certain amount of energy in the world to bring a better and positive impact. So standards like integrity, compassion, purpose are things that you can establish in your life and principles that you can utilize to really move with positive intentions in making a bigger impact in this world. So that's just a little bit of food for thought. Make sure that every day you show up, you're showing up with positive intentions, positive energy, positive traits that help you, and not only help you, but help others around you be impacted in a way that helps them grow. With that being said, let's get to the charts. What's good, you guys? Welcome back. Here we have the Monday charts loaded up on the NQ chart. Ticker symbol NQ, 5-minute time frame. To start out the week, we had a pretty rough start to the week as we held this range between 2,402 to 2,403. We were starting to see breakouts above 2,404.40. However, we were failing to get above this 2,403.86 with clean conviction. So I was looking for puts initially going into this session where we were filling this orb high. But as I kept getting into this orb high failure, I would see a quick reversal every time. And this was prior to 9 a.m. So we were failing to get our move that we wanted going into the initial open of the day. Once we had this failure here, I looked to take a position on this opening candle using that previous candle high as a stop loss right here. It stopped me out. Once we stopped out, it ended up going after 9 o'clock once the news came out. Don't remember the news that came out that day, but you guys see a pretty aggressive seller come into the market after 9 o'clock. But it did wick above our previous high as well. So it didn't really give clean conviction at the earlier part of the session. It did, however, come back to retest this level once more. By the time I got back in this position, I was able to catch it, but I didn't catch it with conviction where I saw most of this value. I caught probably all the way down to this candle here, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't the same size that I bought initially on the day. So essentially we were negative on the day and we ended the day negative due to that initial trade. We were super confident on this initial trade going and it ended up failing to go. And that's one thing that I would say be mindful of in trading is that you never want to be overly confident, having too much confidence in one trade going your way. You always want to keep your risk in check and stay optimistic, but also stay, pessimistic as well, and being mindful of the things going negative as well. So had I used less size in that position, that probably would have prevented me from losing as much as I did. But due to me losing so much, it did affect our week going into the rest of this week. But with that being said, let's move on to Tuesday and talk about what trades we took on Tuesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Tuesday chart loaded up. And as I said prior to this chart loading, we did have a bad day on Monday. And typically we don't have bad days on Mondays. Due to our negative open of the week, I did want to reduce size. And so with me reducing size, I switched over to the M&Q futures, which are the mini NASDAQ futures, which pretty much allows me to limit my risk a lot more compared to taking the NQ. And I did that so that I can protect my losses and actually build back up my account to now make more money on the flip side. So that's what we did going into Tuesday. After forming this orb level, we had a pretty stagnant open, and then we failed the orb low going into 9 o'clock. Once we failed the orb low, we saw a pretty aggressive sell down lower. However, once we retest and approach this 2400 level, we saw a quick failure and then reversal back above the 2400, which is where I look to take a quick position on the reversal. Using this candle low here as a stop loss, I got in here, riding it back into the EMA range where I then took full profits. Anticipating a failure back lower, I also wanted to see it actually break out and go back into the orb low. We waited for another position later in the day where we saw another failure back lower, but then a quick reclaim back up to this level of the 2400. Once we got this failure, however, I did look to get back into this position and use this candle low here as a stop loss as the low of day, where we were then able to catch this move back into the orb low, taking full profits once we got back there. And that was it for Tuesday. We had a very clean session, way better than Monday. Like I said, Monday was just, for me, it was execution and timing. We weren't able to properly time the entries of our position. We had the right idea, but the wrong time. So it wasn't necessarily that we were wrong, it was just that our timing was off. And sometimes in trading, that's gonna happen. But Tuesday, we had very well executed plays and good conviction. So I was very happy with my success that I had on Tuesday. And with that being said, let's move on and talk about what we took on Wednesday. All right, here we have the Wednesday chart loaded back on the MNQ chart on the 5-minute time frame. So after the market closed on Tuesday, we had a pretty strong gap up going into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning after news released about the US and Iran coming to a ceasefire for the Iranian war. That caused the market to have a very large gap up in the post-market and pre-market sessions of Tuesday and Wednesday. So going into Wednesday morning, we had some pretty aggressive selling come in after reclaiming this 2500 level. We retested 2500 and 250. From there, we saw a reversal going back down to 2500 and $100. And once we formed our orb low, we then saw some very slow drawdown, and I was very bearish on the position on the session, but we were getting very slow drawdown in this period. So from 9 a.m. to about 10, we saw a drawdown, but we didn't see aggressive selling. We just saw very slow-mo selling. So we were getting chopped around our position, and I just should have held the initial position that I had and just waited. But I was very impatient and just trying to keep my wrist tight, which I did very well. And essentially ended the day break even due to me missing out on this move to the downside because of all the chop. Once we got down to about 2,500, we then saw a reversal back into the orb low, and then we reclaimed the orb low and stayed in a very small range from there. And then we went back and forth between the 2,500 and 100 to 2,500 flat. So initially we missed our move after this very choppy session. It kind of just drained me mentally, and I wasn't in the mood to take any more trades for the day. So we ended the day break even. You know, no money loss is a good thing as long as you're keeping your risk in check. I'd rather keep my risk in check and not take big losses rather than take big losses and not keep my risk in check. So any time of the day, if I'm not confident in the move going my way, I'll just stop out of it and move on and try to take better trades in the next day. And that's what I ended up doing on Thursday. So let's talk about what trades we took on Thursday. All right, here we have the Thursday chart loaded back on the MNQ charts, 5-minute time frame. As you guys see here, that line that I have highlighted is the line that I ended up using as an entry point. Once we we had a very tight price action move between 2,590 to about 2,502. So once we formed our orb low, we had failure below it, but then shortly after the failure, we reclaimed the level. Once we reclaimed the level, I looked to take a position using the candle low of that reclaim as a stop loss. So essentially an orb reversal. As we got the orb reversal, we saw a move back up to the orb high where I looked to take profits around here. From there, we had a continuation move come in after more news came out that day, I believe, and that drove the market even higher, going back into the 25,250, where we then saw more failure kick in. And later in the day, I looked to take another position after failing back below the EMAs, because we were trailing the EMAs all day. I looked to take a position, seeing if we could possibly reclaim or retest the orb high of the day. We were not able to retest the orb high of the day, but we were able to catch this position using this very small range of movement as a little bit of a scalpable move. We were able to catch a little bit of profit there as well. And so from there, we just took profits after we reached down here And that was really it for the day. You know, I don't like to typically take trades on Thursdays, but given the week that I had, I did take some trades on Thursday. I was just very, very, very light sized, and I used very tight risk ranges to take these trades as well. So I was very happy with my execution on Thursday, very happy with my results. And yeah, with that being said, let's move on to Friday and talk about what trades we took on Friday. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys want to learn more about how to day trade, I have a free day trading course on my website at www.continuebelief.com. There you'll get all the information and resources needed to help you guys learn more on your journey to day trading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get back to it. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Friday chart loaded back on the MNQ chart. So on the MNQ chart here, you guys see once again we had a very, very tight range between the 2500 and 293 level to the 2500 and 372 level. As we were trying to fill below it, we couldn't fill below it, so we held that level. From there, we bounced back into the orb high, and we were pretty much just ping-ponging back and forth for the first 2 hours of the session. Going into 10 o'clock, however, is where we then start to see some aggressive selling kick in. As you guys see here, right around 10:20, we had a candle close above the orb high, but then shortly after that candle closed above it, we had a sharp sell-off come right back down into the orb high of that level. From there, we failed the orb high, failed the EMAs, and as we fell back below into this orb high, I did take a position right off of the failure of this level, and I used that candle high as a stop loss. I rode this candle back down below the EMAs, taking most of my profits off here and taking the remainder off as we reapproached the orb low. We did see a little bit lower from there, and for the majority of the day, we did stay below the orb low for majority of it, but we were able to reclaim it going into the end of the day and closing out the day a little bit into the orb low. So very, very tight range bound session between Friday and Thursday. And I think that was just simply due to the fact that we had such a strong gap up on Wednesday, giving us the price action that we had in the last 2 days of the week. With that being said, let's talk about what trades we can look to take going into this next week of April. All right, ladies and gents, here we have the SPY chart loaded back up on the 4-hour time frame. What a crazy week we had this week. From opening down below 656, reaching all the way down to as low as 651, to closing out the week all the way up here at 679.3. A crazy turn of events for the S&P and the NASDAQ. You guys see here this big box, which we'll talk about here shortly. What are the levels to watch going into this next week of April? For me, the levels to watch are going to be between 680 and 671.75. If we get a reclaim of 680, we can see a retest of 683. If we're able to break above 683, we can see a push back into 685. And if we reclaim 685, then we are off to the races to see 690 once more. However, if we cannot reclaim 680, we can see a push back down to 675.8 or 676. And if we fail back below 676, we can see a retest of 671. If we fail to hold 671, then we're going back down to 669. If we fail to hold 669, then we have a very large gap fill range from that from that Tuesday level that we had going into closure of Tuesday to the opening of Wednesday. So pretty much a range between 672 and 660 that we have to possibly gap fill. Now we do have some demand levels in between that we can see a retest of on our way down, which would be that 666 level and that 664 level. So if we fell below essentially 670, if we fell below 670, we can see a retest of 666. And if we fail 666, we can see a retest of 664. And in the very bottom of that level of demand, and that gap fill, which would be the best case scenario retest would be 660. Those will be your levels to watch going into this next week. We do have a little bit of a curl coming in here as we're failing to reclaim the 680. So it is possible we can see lower. It just comes down to whether or not we have selling pressure kick in to the market in this next coming week. Comment below your thoughts. Let me know whether you guys are bullish or bearish. Me personally, I think that if we cannot reclaim 680, we will see selling pressure come into the market. We do look to be failing it right now, so I will say that I'm bearish as of right now. But as I mentioned, if we do reclaim 680 and hold 680, then we can see higher. So take that with a grain of salt. Do your due diligence, do your research. Make sure you guys are prepared for this week's price action. Anything can happen in a Trump market. It's like a casino nowadays. We have so much news coming out each and every day. We don't know what the market will do the next day. It's anybody's guess what can happen in this volatile of a market. Your job is to protect your capital, be nimble on your trades, keep your risk in check, and take profits when you see profits. As long as you do that, you will be able to come out of this market green and not red. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will see you guys next week once again. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for the Rich Hawkins podcast at 6:30. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to click that like button, hit the follow, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more content. I'll see you guys next week.